Fast cars, hot girls, and sex parties till dawn. Jose Irizarry lived that fast-paced bachelor lifestyle that many dream about. With a seemingly endless stream of money, his nights were definitely ones for the highlight reel. Well, if he wasn't a DEA agent. Being bribed by the Colombian cartel is already crazy enough, but knowing that the one on the receiving end was originally tasked with capturing them makes this all the more interesting. Jose Irizarry, just hours before his 12-year prison sentence, gave his tell-all about his three-continent endless adventure on the cartel dollar. Here's what happened. The war on drugs has been an ongoing battle since the early 1970s, with no precise end date even now. To many DEA agents, this seemed to be an unwinnable war. After years of investigations, busts, and continuous efforts, they haven't even made a dent in the illegal drug market. It seemed like an uphill battle that wasn't even worth the fight. Jose Irizarry was one of the many agents that shared these feelings. Instead of dropping the badge and calling it quits, he decided to take advantage of the situation by compromising his morals and job for a guaranteed payout. Known as the most corrupt agent in the DEA, Irizarry feels as though his actions are, in a way, justified, claiming that rather than a war, the drug cartels presented a game, a fun one at that. Having joined the DEA in 2009, Irizarry quickly climbed up the ranks with his natural knack for investigative work. Taught by some of the most accomplished DEA agents from the 1990s New York cocaine scene, everybody had high hopes for Jose. Undoubtedly, he learned from some of the best, even in terms of informants. Irizarry credits all of his knowledge to Colombia's contraband king, otherwise known as Diego Marin, a long-term U.S. informant. He taught Irizarry everything he knew about money laundering through drug sales, imported goods, as well the ins and outs of how to navigate the black market peso exchange. Rather than using this information to better his investigations, he used it for his own benefit. This cross-continent scheme was known as Team America and entailed pocketing bribes from Colombian cartels, extensive money laundering efforts, and scamming the DEA by expensing all his luxury purchases to the budget. Jose would spend thousands of dollars during his work hours on luxury clothes, first-class plane tickets, and VIP status at the most expensive clubs all across the world. This lavish lifestyle was funded by a $9 million allowance from the Colombian cartel. To make matters worse, Irizarry would even falsify reports and receive wire transfers from DEA employees under the guise of undercover stings and other operations. This plan was in action in 69 countries, spanning 3 continents. Notable purchases include a $767,000 home in Cartagena, Colombia, a $30,000 Tiffany diamond ring, and a golden Hublot watch, and obviously different sports cars, because you can't feel rich without one. Irizarry proceeds to say that around 90% of his so-called work trips were just cover-ups for parties, sporting events, and other activities that had no relation to his job. All of these expenses were written off as case-related, and he capitalized on just how broad that term really was. One of the most memorable trips that he took was in August 2014, when he traveled to Madrid for the Spanish Super Cup finals in soccer, where he had field-side seats paid for by the DEA. This entire vacation was expensed under Operation Whitewash, and all of the expensive dinner bills and nightclubs were categorized as business costs. He was probably a big fan of Rafael Nadal, also because he went to see his tennis matches. All of these adventures were posted on his public Instagram account, often with other federal prosecutors and colleagues also in view, but no one seemed to really think twice about it back then. One of the agents that joined him was Michael J. Garofalo, a former Miami prosecutor and Bachelorette contestant. Irizarry claimed that Garofalo was a frequent participant in his escapades, particularly one night in Santo Domingo, at a strip club named Dollhouse. The two, along with another DEA agent, dropped over $2,000 in a VIP room, entirely funded by an emissary named Iguana. Garofalo claimed that he believed all the trips were expensed by the DEA and categorized under official business. Being a newer agent, Garofalo said that he was easily impressionable and eager to learn from an established agent like Irizarry on money laundering cases. In 2015, Irizarry was transferred to a Colombian town called Cartagena, where he continued his antics in building this elaborate scheme. Agents on work trips would stop by his luxurious home, located right by the ocean with a sprawling rooftop pool. He would host gatherings for his visiting colleagues where a wide range of illicit activities took place. Nowadays, he seems quite eager to share those tales with the press. 2 U.S. prosecutors, Marissa Darden and Monique Botero, were seen at one of these events. Marissa, who was the first black woman U.S. attorney in Northern Ohio, was seen at a party where 2 DEA agents were seen taking drugs. Although she wasn't seen engaging in illegal activity herself, she was still heavily questioned in a federal investigation regarding Irizarry's scheme. She withdrew from her role in May. Similarly, Botero was also spotted at an outing funded by Irizarry's corrupt cash. She was present at a luxury yacht party in September 2015 for what she thought was a cruise organized by the local police. Once again, she was said to not have participated in any illegal activity. Although he pleaded guilty to 19 counts of corruption back in 2020, Irizarry was adamant about the public knowing that he didn't act alone. His colleagues claim that all of these stories were simply fabricated as a way to reduce his sentence. But with recent evidence coming to light, it seems that these anecdotes may actually hold some truth. For many years, it was said that Irizarry acted as a lone wolf, with the rest of his colleagues oblivious to his corruption. However, signs in recent investigations point to possibly 24 former and current DEA agents that were also a part of the scheme. Whether it be turning a blind eye or fully being an accomplice, it's clear that Jose was not the only corrupt agent. In Irizarry's own words, "I wasn't the mastermind." Irizarry has pointed fingers at his former colleagues from Group 4, the DEA's Miami-based team, and named them as accomplices through the forgery and falsification of records and accepting monetary bribes. He also accused a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officer of accepting a bribe of $20,000. With some of these allegations actually holding merit, the Federal Bureau has had to hold a thorough investigation to determine if these claims are all true. At least 3 former federal agents have been through interrogations and been partaking in investigations after Irizarry's arrest, and that number will likely only increase as more information is obtained. The DEA is no stranger to misconduct and corruption claims, from the most minor cases of confidential information leaks or significant issues like this. Irizarry's accusations are also backed by the belief of the judge that sentenced him. U.S. District Judge Charlene Honeywell states that many agents are swayed by the allure of easy money, and that this has been a severe ongoing issue for all government organizations. She firmly believes that there were others still hiding among the ranks that were just as guilty. One of the major corroborators was George Zumberos, a former partner of Irizarry's and a fellow agent that participated in money laundering investigations. Irizarry told the news agency AP News that Zumberos was also heavily involved in tapping DEA money for his own personal gain and lying on reports to justify his excessive spending. Zumberos and his brother Michael were jailed for refusing to testify before a federal grand jury during an investigation into misconduct within the DEA. Both brothers had been previously seen traveling and partying with DEA agents, but are firm in saying that their arrests were a result of the FBI's attempts to do damage control after the Irizarry case became public knowledge. Other agents also shared the same sentiments, rejecting Irizarry's claims by calling them lies or exaggerations. The Irizarry scandals brought a ton of negative attention to both the DEA as well as other federal government organizations, and many think that this continuous investigation for indictments may be a strategy that the government is taking to make the situation look better. If only one arrest came out of this 5-year-long investigation, then the competency of the government could possibly be questioned. The root of a lot of these issues stem from overly friendly and unprofessional relationships between colleagues. Under federal guidelines, agents and informants are strictly forbidden from developing relationships, but the DEA has yet to crack down on those breaking these rules. Additionally, the DEA has relatively loose controls and lax maintenance of undercover drug money laundering operations that have allowed agents to tread the line time and time again in regards to regulation and procedure. As long as the stats of arrests kept rising, the increasing amount of money leaving the agency raised few red flags. The DEA launders tens of millions of dollars for notorious drug cartels through shell companies, which has been showcased in well-known overseas operations like Operation Whitewash. Although Operation Whitewash led to over 100 arrests, a seizure of a ton of cocaine, and $100 million in cash, agents like Irizarry were still able to take advantage of large-scale investigations such as this one for their own purposes. Although Irizarry has come out with several allegations, as well as names of those in on his scheme, much of this information is not available to the public due to confidential law enforcement records, as well as the fact that it remains an ongoing investigation. Those that are involved are not authorized to discuss any details. To reassure the public, a DEA spokesperson issued a statement saying that for the past 16 months, the DEA has been employing all efforts to strengthen the discipline and hiring processes to ensure that all work was being done with integrity. In the end, Jose bit off far more than he could chew. His need for such a high-class, expensive lifestyle ultimately led to his downfall. It seems that this case is still far from over, as there remains plenty of corruption and betrayal in the DEA, with it all coming apart at the seams slowly but surely.